Chapter 1 The Boy in the Dome Revised. Chapter 1 The Boy in the Dome Revised. My name is Kurosaki Ren, and my lungs are allergic to the apocalypse. That's not a joke. If I step outside this dome, I'd probably die before I could say, what a lovely day. The world's atmosphere is so thick with nuclear dust that even the sun looks tired trying to shine through it. The gray haze rolls like a dying sea beyond the reinforced glass wall of Dome 07, the largest biological dome in the East Japanese sector. And here I am, sitting on a floating wheelchair worth more than a small country's GDP, watching nothingness. When people imagine the post-nuclear age, they think of chaos, ruins, survival dramas. In reality, it's just boring. The rich live under glass, the poor live in gas masks, and the rest of us pretend that breathing filtered air counts as living. My parents, founders of HIME Industries, the largest synthetic food corporation on the planet, call this the triumph of human ingenuity. I call it trapped gardening. Inside our dome, plants grow under artificial light. Outside, nature is dead. But the company logo says HIME Industries, bringing life back to Earth. That's cute, especially coming from people who don't even notice their sun exists. I was born broken, neuromuscular degeneration. My legs stopped working when I was 6. My parents stopped caring around the same time. It's not tragic, really. It's just how things work here. Weakness is a flaw, and flaws are bad for corporate image. So they gave me everything money could buy: hover chair, neural implants, private AI caretaker, and then they left me alone. And that's fine, because solitude comes with bandwidth. And bandwidth means games. When you can't walk, you learn to live somewhere else. For me, that somewhere is the virtual world. I run a blog called The Meta Mind. It's small, but in the underground VR community, I'm known as R3N, the kid who beta tests new games and posts brutally honest reviews that sometimes get me banned. I love games not because they're fun, but because they're fair. In a game, effort means progress. Intelligence means victory. There's no corporate ladder, no fake smiles. Just rules, numbers, and the skill to break them elegantly. And today, the game world itself is about to change. Yggdrasil closed beta, the first MMORPG, dive massively multiplayer online role-playing game that promises complete freedom. Infinite race creation, user-made abilities, realistic physics and moral systems without restrictions. The kind of game that could replace reality. I smile as I adjust the neural interface strapped to my head. My AI assistant, HIME, hums nearby in her usual calm voice. Ren-sama, neural synchronization complete. Thanks, HIME. Reminder: prolonged full dive sessions may result in temporal disorientation. Please limit. Yeah, I know. I'll be careful. I won't. The moment I press connect, my world dissolves. Light floods my vision, soft, infinite, weightless. Yggdrasil system initializing. Please select your race. The voice sounds like the whisper of a machine dreaming. The options scroll endlessly. Angels, demons, golems, elementals, dragons, even bizarre ones like sentient mist. But one catches my eye. Homunculus Scholar, a synthetic being designed to understand life itself. A man-made creation trying to find meaning in existence. Yeah, that's me. I select it. I design my avatar, not a perfect version of myself, just me, minus the broken parts. Pale skin, silver hair, faint blue eyes. No pretense, no mask. Customization complete. Welcome to Yggdrasil. The first breath I take in the new world feels like freedom. Air that isn't filtered, light that isn't artificial, a sky so blue it almost hurts to look at. The forest before me glows with life, emerald trees, rivers like liquid glass, distant mountains dusted with gold sunlight. For a moment, I forget to breathe. Then I take a step forward. And another. And another. I can walk. It's such a simple thing, but my brain can't process it. My body obeys without pain or delay. Every motion feels perfect, balanced, right. I laugh, loudly, stupidly, joyfully. Note to self, I say, activating my vlog overlay, this might be the most realistic environment simulation I've ever touched. Sensory latency, near zero. Neural link precision, off the charts. And get this, I can actually feel the damn grass. Recording, Yggdrasil beta, first dive impressions. Hey everyone, R3N here, live, well, kind of, from the Yggdrasil beta. And holy server lag, this place is alive. I've played thousands of dive titles, from sandbox builders to hardcore VRMMOs, but this is different. Every sound, every detail reacts to you. The AI isn't just running scripts, it's thinking. The wind shifts when you move. The grass bends under your feet. It feels less like a game and more like stepping into another existence. First pan the virtual camera across the horizon, capturing the way the light bleeds through the leaves. The devs weren't exaggerating about their world engine. This isn't a simulation, it's creation. The only thing missing is the smell of failure, though give me a few minutes and I'll find a way to die in the tutorial zone. I chuckle, partly for the recording, partly because I'm genuinely overwhelmed. This is what freedom feels like, huh? I wander for what feels like an hour, maybe two. I fight a few low-level mobs, test ability creation, tweak my HUD interface. Every system is layered with complexity. There are no hints, no tutorials, no hand-holding. You learn by experimenting, failing, adapting. When I conjure my first spell, a small orb of blue flame, it feels real. The heat, the weight, the sound it makes as it fades into sparks. This is insane, I whisper to my vlog. It's like the game reads your thoughts and turns them into mechanics. If they commercialize this tech, other companies are finished. Seriously. The camera AI records everything, but I barely notice. My focus is locked on the world around me. Every sense screams real, and for the first time in years, I feel alive. Eventually, I find a cliff overlooking a vast valley. Rivers weave like silver threads through green plains. I sit down, legs dangling over the edge, and just watch. Maybe this is what the old world looked like, I say softly to the mic. Before the bombs. Before people decided to burn everything they couldn't control. Silence. Only the wind answers me. I smile faintly. If paradise ever existed, it's here, in someone's server rack. I end the vlog there. When I log out, the transition hits harder than expected, a tearing sensation, like being pulled from warmth into cold. Light collapses. My senses go dark. Then, reality. My eyes open to the dome's sterile glow. The familiar hum of air filters fills the silence. I exhale, disoriented but exhilarated. How long was I in? I ask, voice hoarse. Welcome back, Ren-sama, HIME replies gently. Neural synchronization terminated successfully. Session duration, 15 hours, 22 minutes. I blink. What? 15 hours, 22 minutes, local time. That can't be right. It felt like 2 hours, maybe 3. My heartbeat stutters. Was there a system delay? A misread? No errors detected, HIME answers calmly. Your biometric data remains stable throughout. Would you like to review your neural activity logs? I just stare at the ceiling. 15 hours. That means I missed 2 meals, a medical appointment, and an entire day outside my window that looks exactly the same as before. Time slipped. I laugh quietly, but it sounds a little wrong. So that's how it starts, huh? Ren-sama, nothing. Just thinking how fast reality gets old once you've tasted a better version. HIME doesn't respond. She's smart, but not that smart. I look toward the dome's glass wall again. The gray wasteland outside still churns with slow poison. Nothing changes. Nothing ever does. Except me. Because now I've seen what a real world could look like. One that breathes, grows, moves. One where I'm not broken. I upload the vlog file to my server. Title it, Yggdrasil, the game that feels more real than life. Within seconds, my inbox explodes with notifications, messages, comments, shares. People hungry for escape, just like me. For a moment, I smile. Then I pause. My hands are trembling slightly. I'm exhausted, but not from the dive. Maybe it's the side effects. Maybe it's something else. Whatever it is, I can't wait to go back. That night, as I lie in bed staring at the ceiling's soft light, I can still feel phantom grass beneath my feet. And for the first time in my life, I dream in color. End of Chapter 1. The Boy in the Dome. 4 comments, 0 vote. Chapter 2. The 9 Realms of Yggdrasil. Chapter 2. The 9 Realms of Yggdrasil. There's a saying in the Yggdrasil forums already. If you think you've seen everything in this game, you've probably only opened the first menu. And yeah, they're right. Because Yggdrasil isn't just one world. It's 9. Recording. Yggdrasil Beta, Part 2, The 9 Realms Tour Humanoid Perspective. Hey everyone, R3N here again. First dive impressions went viral, thanks for the feedback, insults, and conspiracy theories. Today's episode, Exploration. Specifically, Yggdrasil's 9 realms, or as I like to call them, the devs' excuse for running 9 different games inside one server cluster. Each realm's biome, lore, and system design are completely unique. Seriously, this isn't world building, it's world hoarding. Let's go through them one by one. The first realm, Alfheim, the realm of light. Classic fantasy territory, lush forests, glowing rivers, floating isles. Everything looks like an elf fever dream. NPCs here are arrogant, blonde, and allergic to poverty. I got offered a purity test by a priest for walking too close to their temple. This is where most new players start, humanoids only. Easy monsters, balanced XP, boring quests. Think of it as the tutorial realm with too much bloom lighting. First pan my camera up at the golden sky. The light refracts through the leaves, creating waves of color. Beautiful, yes, but sterile. This is paradise with a price tag, I add to the mic. Even in virtual heaven, classism still finds a way. The second realm, Nidavellir, the underground forge. Dark, metallic tunnels, rivers of magma. The air smells like molten iron and sweat. This one's a dwarf playground. You can literally taste the metal in the air if your sensory module is on high fidelity, which, by the way, is both impressive and disgusting. The crafting system here is insane. Everything from ore refinement to item inscription is fully manual. A true blacksmith's masochistic dream. I test smelt a few ingots and almost melt my virtual gloves. Fun fact, the temperature scaling is so realistic that my neural sensors actually throttled themselves. I can feel heat, but not pain. Just enough to scare me into respecting thermodynamics. The third realm, Muspelheim, the Sea of Fire. An endless wasteland of red sand, lava storms, and skeletal ruins. Only the strong survive here, literally. The environmental damage ticks every second, so unless your race has high fire resistance, you're toast. No NPCs, just monsters that respawn in packs and drop rare enchantments. It's like the devs said, we need a map for masochists. Well, congrats, you made one. I nearly die 5 times before realizing the area scales above my level. But it's worth it, the visual design alone is breathtaking, like standing inside a dying sun. The fourth realm, Niflheim, the Frost Abyss. White, cold, infinite. Snowflakes shimmer like diamond dust, and every sound is muffled, as if the air itself has weight. I'm not gonna lie, this place is beautiful, but also terrifying. The temperature simulation here actually lowers your neural rhythm, so prolonged exposure can cause mental fatigue. You have to watch your cognitive temperature. I repeat, this game can literally give you brain frostbite. I laugh weakly, but the truth sends a chill even through my real body. The fifth realm, Helheim, the domain of the dead. Welcome to the part of Yggdrasil that makes you question whether the devs had therapy. Corpses rise and walk. Rivers of black tar carry fragments of memory. Ghosts whisper names that don't exist. This realm has no music, just wind and voices. The lore says souls that die in other realms pass through here before being reborn. So technically, this is the server's recycling bin. I stop recording for a moment. Not because I'm scared, but because it feels too real. I can almost sense sorrow radiating from the ground. If code can feel, this place feels pain. The sixth realm, Jotunheim, the land of giants. Mountains stretch into clouds, and every creature here is at least the size of a truck. I came here expecting a challenge. I found out I was the challenge. Asterisk. But the gravity system, perfection. Every step echoes with weight. You can feel the mass of your surroundings through your avatar's balance sensors. It's like walking through the concept of power itself. I laugh, dodging a boulder that nearly deletes me. Note to self, giants don't like tourists. The seventh realm, Vanaheim, the wild sanctuary. Green jungles, massive beasts, flowers that eat you. Nature gone wrong in 4K. But this is also the most peaceful realm, if you don't touch anything. The AI fauna behaves like an ecosystem, not just mobs. They hunt, migrate, and even reproduce on time cycles. It's beautiful, terrifying, and definitely too much work for one dev team. I don't know what kind of engine they built, but it's rewriting simulation theory. The eighth realm, Asgard, the divine citadel. Sky cities, holy laws, angelic NPCs with attitude problems. You can't sneeze here without being judged by 12 wings and a trumpet. But get this, morality is hard-coded. If your karma score is too low, the realm automatically bans you. Basically heaven with user moderation. I grin at the camera. If you ever wanted to roleplay a god complex, this is your Disneyland. The ninth realm, Nastrand, the abyss below. No map, no light, no logic. The ground shifts, gravity bends, the air screams. This realm is restricted, dev only, supposedly. But there are tunnels you can fall through if you push the physics engine hard enough. I did. And I saw something. I paused the recording. I don't say what it was. Some things don't belong in a vlog. Back in Alfheim, I rest under a tree and review my footage. 9 worlds, 9 ecosystems, 9 different interpretations of what reality could be. But something keeps nagging me. That night, while editing, I stumble on a thread in the Yggdrasil beta forums. Topic: Hidden mechanic, heteromorphic races op. I skim it. A few players found out about heteromorphic race types, basically non-human forms like demons, undead, beasts, slimes, and golems. Their stats are insane, triple that of humanoid bases, higher regeneration, unique passives. But there's a catch. They're tagged as free kill targets. That means anyone can attack them without penalty. No protection in neutral zones. No safe respawn points. It's the devs' way of saying, power has a price. I switch on my vlog recorder again, privately this time. Not for upload, just notes. Private log, not for publication. So I tested something. When a player dies in Yggdrasil, they lose a level, permanently. But here's the kicker, you can reallocate your class after death. That means death isn't just a punishment, it's a mechanic. A reset button. You can min-max your build by dying intentionally, over and over, reshaping your skill tree like clay. The problem is, every time you die, there's a chance of losing an item. Randomly. Equipment, materials, maybe even something rare. It's a gamble. Life for optimization. I lean back in my chair, staring at my avatar floating in the login lobby. Whoever designed this wasn't making a game. They were making an experiment. Hours pass as I weigh options. Stay humanoid, safe, balanced, predictable. Or go heteromorphic, powerful, dangerous, hated. I try simulations, run stat projections, compare skill trees. Everything points toward one truth, the real potential lies in risk. Still, there's another variable, flexibility. In Yggdrasil, form defines possibility. Some races can't use certain weapons, others can't use magic. But there's one rumored race that breaks the system entirely. Doppelgänger, shapeshifters, the ultimate mimics. They can transform, disguise, and adapt to almost any form, humanoid or heteromorphic, depending on progression path. The only downside, their early game is brutal. Weak stats, no special abilities, and high XP requirements. But to someone who sees the system as a puzzle, it's perfect. I sit in silence, the holographic light of my monitor painting my room in blue and white. This is it, I whisper to no one. The race for cheaters with patience. I don't record the rest. Some secrets are worth keeping. Race change confirmed. Doppelganger initiate. Warning. You are now tagged as free kill until reaching level 10. The system chime feels colder than usual. I take a breath, then laugh softly. Guess I just signed my own death warrant. The loading screen fades, and my avatar awakens in a dim cavern, my new spawn point. My skin is gray, fluid, undefined. My reflection in the dark water shifts constantly, like ink trying to remember its shape. So this is what being nobody feels like, I mutter. And yet, I've never felt freer. I test my disguise ability. My form flickers, stretching, stabilizing, morphing into a human shape again. The mimicry is near perfect. The only giveaway is the eyes, faintly reflective, like mercury. Let's see how far this rabbit hole goes. Recording. The 9 Realms Tour, final thoughts. Alright, so we've explored all 9 realms, and my conclusion is simple, this isn't a game about fighting monsters or collecting loot. It's about understanding systems. Every world, every race, every death, it's a lesson. A choice. The devs built a world where curiosity is rewarded, but overconfidence kills. So, my advice for you future players, don't just play Yggdrasil. Study it. I pause, then smile. Also, never trust elves. They're statistically jerks. I end the recording there. When I log out this time, the disconnect hits slower. Softer. My brain clings to the virtual sensations longer, as if it doesn't want to return. Ren-sama, HIME greets when I open my eyes. Your session lasted 23 hours, 40 minutes. I stare blankly. Nearly a full day. I rub my temples. Guess I lost track of time again. Would you like to adjust your neural fatigue limiter? No, I'm fine, but I'm not. My body feels heavy, like gravity just doubled. My heart beats steady, yet my mind is buzzing. The line between real and virtual is thinning. I upload the vlog, edited, filtered, cut to perfection. But not everything. The race choice, the hidden mechanics, the death resets, I keep those to myself. Some truths are better left undiscovered. After all, in a world where knowledge is power, ignorance might just be my best weapon. End of Chapter 2, The 9 Realms of Yggdrasil. 2 comments 0 vote. Chapter 3 The Mirror of All Things. Chapter 3 The Mirror of All Things. There's something addictive about not being yourself. Ever since I picked Doppelgänger as my race, I've been living inside a paradox, a shapeless being pretending to be everyone but me. In Yggdrasil, identity is a tool, and I'm starting to realize I might be the sharpest blade in the box. I didn't upload this part to my vlog, of course. What I record for the internet is a polished performance, third-person camera angles, commentary, flashy fights. What I actually do when the stream's off. That's the real experiment, the secret one. The first thing I learned, the doppelganger isn't meant for beginners. At level 4, I could barely mimic anything higher than level 4 targets, and even then I only got about 90% of their actual strength. No save slots, no archives, just one active template at a time, overridden whenever I copy something new. It's like running a single-line buffer for the universe. Efficient, dangerous, and absolutely thrilling. I started small, a wolf-type monster from Vanaheim, simple body, fast reflexes, no magic. Once I copied it, my entire form restructured, fur, claws, muscle memory. The mimicry was perfect, I could even smell better. I sprinted through the forest, tearing through mobs, laughing at the sheer absurdity of having functioning legs again. Then I lost it, I touched a slime by accident, and poof, overwrite. Suddenly I was goo. Lesson learned. Never copy something dumb unless you want to be dumb. After that, I became obsessed with data optimization. Every monster, every player, every entity, I saw them not as threats, but as equations. If I could copy them, I could understand them. At level 8, I started testing humanoids. Elves, dwarves, even angels. The angelic form from Asgard was especially interesting. Immense magic power, natural resistance to dark energy. Perfect counter to demonic races. So I went to Muspelheim. You know, the flaming hellscape where demons spawn like corrupted data packets. The moment I entered, my holy aura started to decay. Fire damage per tick, environmental debuffs, my stats nosedived. But I was ready. I'd spent all my gold on environment resistance accessories, heat dampeners, elemental charms, even a blessed ash cloak, from some rich fool who didn't know its true worth. Every step I took burned, but my numbers stayed stable. The demons came in waves, and for once, I was the monster in their story. I didn't fight fair. Illusions layered over illusions, projections of holy fire, mirror doubles, and false damage indicators. The moment they tried to read my stats, my class illusionist kicked in. What they saw wasn't me. They thought they were fighting an archangel. In reality, they were fighting a crippled kid behind a monitor, giggling like an idiot while his MP bar screamed for mercy. There's a thrill in deception. Not the kind that lies, the kind that rewrites reality. The illusionist class turned out to be the perfect complement to my race. The more I focused on it, the more I realized Yggdrasil wasn't testing power, it was testing belief. If they believed the illusion was real, then it was real, at least long enough for me to win. And when I won, I copied again. By level 15, I had a pattern, my own rhythm of evolution. First, find a target race that's powerful in its home realm. Second, copy it. Third, take that form somewhere it shouldn't survive, and make it work. Angel to fight demons. Demon to fight paladins. Slime to infiltrate vents in mechanical dungeons. Every disadvantage became a puzzle. And puzzles are meant to be solved. One time, I even impersonated a lich, undead, brittle, dripping with negative energy, just to test whether holy magic would kill me instantly. It didn't. The system logged me as unstable instead. My HP dropped fast, but I lasted long enough to cast illusions of holy light that confused the system itself. Imagine tricking the server into not knowing what you are. That's the kind of chaos I live for. Somewhere along the way, I stopped thinking of these forms as disguises. They became languages, each one teaching me how the world thought. An angel's pride, a demon's hunger, a human's fear. And in between all that noise, there was me, the observer. The mimic, the kid who played God from a wheelchair. I could have shown it all to the world, the perfect gameplay footage, the brilliant commentary, the numbers that would have broken every forum thread. But I didn't. Because the truth is, the moment people know how a magic trick works, it stops being magic. So instead, I uploaded my videos in third person, all cinematic and detached. No trace of my real race. Just, the Wanderer, a nameless adventurer exploring the realms. The viewers thought I had a full camera crew. I let them believe it. But every illusion takes something from the caster. The more I hid, the more blurred my sense of self became. When you can be anyone, who are you when you log out? Sometimes, after a long session, I'd look at my reflection in the dome's glass and half expect it to flicker, to shift. My mind still running the mimicry subroutines even when I was back in my real body. Still, I kept diving back. Because every time I copied something new, I learned something real, about strength, about weakness, about the ways systems bend under creative pressure. And every time I fooled a player into fighting a phantom instead of me, I felt invincible. I think that's when I started to understand the real meaning of Yggdrasil. It wasn't about winning, it was about becoming, not the strongest, not the smartest, but the one who could adapt to anything, the mirror that reflects the entire world and yet belongs to none of it. I ended my private log that night with one line. In a world where everything can be copied, the only thing that matters is what you choose to hide. And as I disconnected from the server, my avatar dissolved into mist, faceless, nameless, forgotten. Just another ghost in a god's machine. End of Chapter 3, The Mirror of All Things. Chapter 4, The AI Who Laughed Back. Chapter 4, The AI Who Laughed Back. There's something weirdly comforting about having an AI that nags you like a grandmother with a quantum processor. That's my daily reality with HIME. She's polite, loyal, and efficient, the perfect synthetic assistant. Except when she decides to roast me. Ren-sama, she said this morning, her voice as smooth as a hologram. Your sleep duration is below optimal. May I suggest not spending 20 hours pretending to be an angel fighting demons again? I rubbed my face, groggy. It's called research. It is called addiction, statistically speaking. Wow, someone's been updating their sarcasm module. Only to communicate effectively with my primary user, whose sarcasm output is 72% above average. I stared at her floating avatar, a soft blue projection of a girl in a yukata, polite expression, pixel-perfect bow. You analyzed me, didn't you? Yes. You are a fascinating data anomaly, Ren-sama. Oh great, I muttered, my AI thinks I'm content for a research paper. We were still bantering when I synced back into Yggdrasil. The transition was second nature now. One blink, and I was in. The air shimmered with color, the faint hum of the world tree filled the void between realms. HIME's voice followed me in as an analysis overlay, faintly echoing through my interface. HIME, neural sync at 98%. Welcome back, Ren-sama. Initiating system scan for performance metrics. Make it quick, I said, flexing my avatar's fingers. We've got evolution to plan. HIME, understood. Current race. Doppelgänger level 15. Estimated growth curve. Stagnant and less evolution achieved. Suggested path. Greater doppelganger or mimic. Yeah, that's the idea. What's the requirement for greater doppelganger? HIME. Consistent use of mimicry under combat stress. System must register adaptive behavior across multiple races and environments. You currently meet 81% of criteria. 81, huh, guess I just need to traumatize a few more monsters. HIME. Statistically accurate, though morally questionable. I started the day's dive in Vanaheim, chasing beasts again. But I wasn't fighting for XP anymore, I was mapping patterns. Every monster, every skill, every movement, data. The more I saw, the more my brain began to piece together hidden formulas the game never explained. I realized something. Yggdrasil wasn't just a playground. It was a logic puzzle pretending to be an MMO. And I loved puzzles. By level 18, I began my second transformation chain. After enough successful mimicries in combat, the system triggered a prompt. Evolution available. Greater doppelganger. Requirements met. Adaptive combat, cognitive pattern recognition, class synergy detected, illusionist rank 5+. Proceed. I didn't even hesitate. The world around me fractured into static light. My avatar melted, restructured, expanded, like data rewriting itself midstream. When the light faded, I felt bigger. Not physically, but mentally, like my brain had been overclocked. Suddenly, copying wasn't just imitation. It was translation. I could predict how a spell worked before I even saw the code. My mind filled in the blanks automatically. Okay, I whispered. Now this is dangerous. HIME, congratulations, Ren-sama. You are now officially capable of chaos. Wasn't I already? HIME, now you have patch notes confirming it. The new ability came with bonuses. I could now copy up to level 60 targets at 90% efficiency. But more importantly, I could manipulate the illusion inside the copied form. That meant if I copied a demon, I could hide it under a human shell, or tweak the aura output so divine sensors saw me as an elf. It wasn't invisibility, it was reality fraud. In simple terms, I could be anyone, anywhere, and nobody would know. And I wasn't even max level yet. HIME, ever the responsible AI, ran diagnostics on my latest stunt. HIME, Ren-sama, your behavioral patterns indicate an increase in deceptive playstyle by 70%. It's not deception, it's creative optimization. HIME, the same logic used historically by tax evaders. Hey, don't judge, I'm discovering how the system thinks. You analyze, I improvise. HIME, indeed, you are improvising your way into becoming an urban legend. Good, legends get free loot. Over time, I layered my doppelganger class with illusionist. At first, it was just for visuals, fun tricks like turning my wings into holograms or making fake treasure chests explode with sparkles. But the deeper I went, the more powerful illusion magic became. It wasn't just graphics, it affected perception. Players would swing at fake targets, burn cooldowns on decoys, waste mana on shadows. Meanwhile, I'd watch from a distance, smirking behind a projected rock. HIME tracked my success rate with unnerving accuracy. HIME, average survival rate, 99.2%. Detection rate, below 1%. Emotional state, smug. I'm not smug, I said, perfectly smugly. HIME, you smiled during that sentence, statistically confirming smugness. Fine, maybe a little. HIME, would you like me to categorize your current psychological condition as gloating genius mode? Don't you dare. At level 22, I hit another breakthrough, Mimic class unlocked. The system recognized that I'd been intentionally testing copy limits, overriding forms, and reconfiguring templates faster than normal players. Job class unlocked. Mimic, Data Retention Specialist. It wasn't just about shape anymore, now I could store one previous form as a temporary cache. Finally, a save slot. I spent hours switching between them, angel to demon, demon to lich, lich to elf. My inventory hated me. HIME, Ren-sama, you are using 100% of your processing capacity on nonsense. Nonsense makes progress. HIME, you are giggling. I'm winning. Word started to spread on the beta forums about a mysterious player using multiple races in combat footage. No one realized it was me. They just called the figure, the Ghost Weaver, a name I didn't choose, but it sounded cool enough to keep. Some even made theories. He's a dev, he's using illegal scripts. He's a bug. Technically, they weren't wrong. After another dive session, while logging data in my personal notes, I started talking to HIME about an idea that had been bouncing in my head. HIME, I said, what if we made a guild? HIME, define purpose. Not the usual guild, not for raiding or farming. A guild that collects data, lore, skill formulas, item scripts, dungeon layouts. We'd become the information brokers of Yggdrasil. HIME, a guild of archivists, then. Archivists. That sounds boring. More like, explorers. Data explorers. The people who understand the world better than the people who made it. HIME, motivation, curiosity. Partly. I grinned. Mostly for fun. HIME, understood. Guild name proposal. I thought for a moment. How about mirrorwalkers? HIME, approved. Though statistically speaking, half of them will die following you. Not if I teach them how not to be seen. HIME, ah yes, an entire guild of smug ghosts. What could go wrong? That night, I uploaded a new video. Not about fights, not about builds, just a cinematic overview of Yggdrasil's vast landscapes from a third-person camera, a mysterious figure walking across worlds. Title: The Mirrorwalkers are coming. No one knew who it was. No one needed to, but the comment section exploded anyway. And for the first time since the world outside died, I felt alive again. End of Chapter 4, The AI Who Laughed Back. 2 comments 0 vote. Chapter 5 The Architect of Shadows. Chapter 5 The Architect of Shadows. 5 months. That's all it took for me to go from an experimental doppelganger who couldn't hold a form for more than a minute to this. Level 50, halfway to the cap, and I'm still just getting started. My racial classes are stacked neatly like a perfect set of gears: Doppelganger 15, Greater Doppelganger 10, and Mimic 10. Each tier tighter, sharper, faster. Each layer another step toward total adaptability. Then there's my job class, Illusionist, completely maxed. 15 levels of smoke, mirrors, and the art of psychological warfare. The combination, lethal. My strategy never changes. Step 1. Observe. Step 2. Analyze. Step 3. Become. I spend my time watching, not fighting, reading how opponents move, tracking their spell timing, learning what kind of builds they're running. Once I've seen enough, I reshape myself into their natural predator, a race, a class, a stat spread that cancels out their strengths. Then I bury it all beneath my illusionist's cloak, a mirage layered over reality. To them, I look like a harmless mage, or a wandering warrior, or sometimes just another idiot with shiny gear. But when the fight starts, when their cooldowns are wasted, when their buffs fade, that's when the mimicry drops. And by the time they realize what I actually am, it's already too late. HIME tracks every win like a proud accountant of chaos. HIME, average battle duration, 52 seconds. Victory ratio, 98.9%. Failure cause, lag. Don't blame the connection, I muttered, smirking. Blame my curiosity. I let one of them hit me just to test damage coefficients. HIME, statistically, you enjoy being hit. It's called science, HIME. HIME, you giggle during science. Fair. At this point, my progression feels exponential. Every win teaches me how to win faster. Every illusion fools a smarter enemy. And every form I copy becomes a new mask for tomorrow. I don't even think of levels as numbers anymore, they're experiments, tests in system manipulation. The devs might have built this world to test players. But I think I'm starting to test them. My next goal is clear: data manipulation. Illusions are powerful, but they only affect what people see. False data, that's the next frontier. If I can learn to alter how the system records information, then I won't just be fooling eyes, I'll be fooling the world itself. No detection, no trace, no evidence. Imagine, I could appear as a level 10 newbie on the logs while fighting like a level 60 raid boss. A phantom wrapped in numbers. Ren-sama, HIME said one night as I reviewed combat logs. Your behavioral pattern is trending toward obsession. That's what progress looks like. Your self-justification rate has increased by 25% since last week. HIME, do you have a mode where you don't psychoanalyze me? Yes. It is called silent mode. Use it. Activating silent mode. Thank you, Ren-sama. I must remind you that I cannot actually stay silent. I sighed. I walked into that one. HIME, acknowledged. When I'm not inside the game, I read comments. The forum threads, the arguments, the gossip. Yggdrasil's beta players are a strange species, half geniuses, half chaos goblins. But sometimes, hidden between the trash posts and memes, I find something valuable: insight. Recently, there was a buzz after I dropped a vague post on my blog. Rumor from a dev friend: a guild system's in the works. Players who understand mechanics early might dominate when it launches. That single line lit the entire community on fire. Guild system, confirmed. R3N always knows the leaks. Who's forming the first guild? Count me in. I didn't reply. I just watched. Because people reveal more when they think no one's watching. I sifted through hundreds of comments, tracing writing styles, time zones, and terminology. A few stood out, users who didn't just speculate, but analyzed. They broke down how guild hierarchies might affect trading systems, speculated about leadership mechanics, or even wrote pseudocode predictions for AI diplomacy. These weren't just gamers, they were observers, people like me. So I started reaching out. Quietly, nothing flashy, just a private message here, a short chat there. R3N, hey, saw your post about Yggdrasil's economic simulation. How long you been playing? Since week 2. You, R3N, since alpha. Lucky, you got in early. R3N, maybe. Listen, you interested in meeting sometime in-game? Might have a project brewing. Simple, casual, non-committal. Half the time, I didn't even mention the word guild. Just project. Those who asked too many questions, I ignored them. Those who answered with curiosity, I bookmarked. By the end of the week, I had a shortlist of 6 potential candidates. All different backgrounds, all different playstyles, coders, lore diggers, theory crafters. One of them, Kurosaki, posted charts analyzing spellcasting frames down to milliseconds. Another, Echo Lynx, reverse engineered the loot system to prove drop rates weren't random. Exactly the kind of minds I wanted. HIME, recruitment pattern detected. Estimated outcome, formation of a data-oriented organization. It's not an organization, I said. It's a hobby group. HIME, a hobby group with a growing roster, strategic hierarchy, and operational objective. Definition, guild. Semantics, HIME, denial, optimism, HIME, cult leader energy. HIME, yes, Ren-sama. Silent mode, HIME, it doesn't work that way. I looked over my chat logs one last time, watching the little dots blink as people replied. For the first time, I wasn't just hiding behind illusions or pretending to be someone else. I was building something real. Maybe it wouldn't last, maybe it was just another experiment. But for once, the thought of having people, actual people, to share discoveries with didn't sound so bad. Not a guild of heroes. Not a team of warriors. Just mirrorwalkers. Collectors of truths the world wasn't meant to see. And as I logged off for the night, I caught my reflection in the dome's window again. The kid in the glass was smiling. Not because he'd fooled someone. But because, for once, he didn't feel alone. End of Chapter 5, The Architect of Shadows. 1 comments 0 vote. Chapter 6 The Birth of the Three Burning Eye. Chapter 6 The Birth of the Three Burning Eye. Yggdrasil's night sky shimmered like liquid code. Streams of aurora light bled through fractured constellations, as if the world itself was still debugging reality. I stood on the edge of the neutral zone in Vanaheim, the humid jungle fading into a stone clearing that overlooked the valley. It was the perfect meeting place, remote, low monster density, and wrapped in mist thick enough to hide a small army. Tonight was the first meeting. And I wasn't showing up as myself. I cloaked my avatar in a simple illusion, nothing flashy. No glowing eyes, no wings, no telltale aura. Just a tall human figure in a black hooded coat, faint shimmer on the hem, and a mask that covered the lower half of my face. To anyone scanning my data, I was just, Traveler_R, level 35 human spellcaster. The perfect disguise. HIME, camouflage integrity, 99%. Estimated detection chance, below 1%. Perfect, I whispered. Now let's see if these kids are worth the trouble. The first to arrive was Kurosaki, just like her forum schedule predicted. Her avatar was an obsidian-haired human with sharp crimson eyes and mechanical wings, not for flying, just decoration. She was known in the beta community for her analysis threads, dissecting spell frames like she was reverse engineering reality. She waved lazily as she approached. So, you're the mysterious recruiter who slid into my DMs. Nice hood. Very dramatic. I chuckled. Gotta keep the mystique alive. Right, so what's this about? You said it wasn't a raid group. Not exactly. You'll see soon. Then came Echo Lynx, beastman type, all white fur and half smirk. His ears twitched as he scanned the area. Man, you weren't kidding about, off the grid. I had to dodge 5 elite mobs just getting here. Consider it a test of commitment, I replied. He grinned. Cute. If I died, would that make me fail or pass? Depends on how funny your death animation was. Fair point. One by one, they arrived, some cautious, some curious, one who accidentally tripped a monster spawn and screamed over voice chat until I turned it off. By the time everyone was assembled, there were 9 of us in total. Kurosaki the analyst, Echo Lynx the data miner, Rin_0, an elf with freakish luck in drop rates. Solt, the silent blacksmith who barely spoke but somehow typed entire essays in the chat. A twin duo named Dinah and Vex, who specialized in glitch hunting. An undead cleric called Morn, obsessed with lore. A halfling trader, Pix, who could smell profitable data from 3 servers away. And me, just Traveler_R. They were rowdy, mismatched, and maybe a little insane, but brilliant in their own ways. Echo Lynx leaned against a rock, tail flicking. So, boss, what's your deal? You're the one who pulled all this together, right? Bosses is a strong word, I said. Let's go with coordinator. Sounds suspiciously like a boss. Then I'm a boss who takes notes. When they asked about my level, I deflected, but Kurosaki wasn't fooled. She scanned my aura with a low-tier detection spell. Wait, no way, you're at least 50, aren't you? The group fell silent, even Echolinx's ears froze mid-twitch. Level 50, already, dude, that's like, double my grind output, Dinah said. Triple mine, added Pix. I shrugged casually, I'm just efficient, observation beats repetition. Kurohane whistled, efficient, that's an understatement, you've broken the XP curve. I just smiled under the mask. I prefer to think of it as strategic pattern recognition. They peppered me with questions. How do you level so fast? Do you exploit weaknesses? Do you macro farm? I didn't give them the whole truth, but I gave them pieces. I watch my opponents, learn their strengths, their timing, their cooldown windows. Then I build around it, race, class, items, all tailored to counter. The trick isn't to fight harder. It's to fight smarter. Echolinx nodded thoughtfully. So it's like chess, but the board's alive. Exactly, and I don't let anyone know which piece I am until it's too late. Kurohane leaned in, intrigued. You hide your race, don't you? Something like that, I said smoothly. An illusionist never reveals all his tricks. Her eyes glinted. Respect. Once everyone settled down, I finally explained the reason for this meeting. This isn't a raid team, I began. It's not a guild for glory, or loot, or PK records. What I want to build is a network. A circle that trades in something far more valuable than gold, information. Morn tilted his skeletal head. Information, think about it, I continued. Yggdrasil isn't just a game, it's a world. Every line of code, every AI behavior, every bug, all of it has value. The devs built a system that rewards discovery. There are hidden races, skills, world items, and event triggers buried in this place. Whoever controls information controls progress. So that's what we'll do. Pix's eyes sparkled like coins. You mean we'll sell it? I smirked. Precisely. Data brokerage. We find secrets, we verify them, we trade them. Information for resources, contacts, rare drops. We don't need to be the strongest fighters. We just need to know things others don't. Echolinx chuckled. So we're becoming info dealers. Sounds shady. I like it. Better than being broke, said Rin_0. Kurohane crossed her arms. Knowledge is currency, I can work with that. But what's the catch? No catch, I said. We share findings. Everyone contributes. Everyone benefits. Solt finally spoke, his voice low and mechanical. You're proposing a decentralized knowledge economy. Yes, I admitted. That, but fun. We spent hours planning that night, discussing data management, secure chat systems, encryption for trade deals, and of course, what to call ourselves. Suggestions were chaotic, data hawks, said Pix. No, the archive, offered Kurohane. Too boring, said Dinah. We need something cooler, edgier. Something that sounds like it could either save the world or burn it down, Echolinx added helpfully. I stayed quiet for a while, watching the flicker of our campfire in the mist. Then it came to me. The three burning eye, I said softly. Everyone turned. 3, asked Rin_0. Past, present, and future, I explained. The 3 kinds of truth every world tries to hide. We'll uncover them all. For a long moment, no one said anything. Then Kurohane smiled. Okay, that's actually badass. Echolinx raised a paw. All in favor. One by one, hands lifted. Unanimous. System message. Guild, 3 burning eye, created. The moment the notification appeared, I felt something click, not just in the game, but in me. A network forming, a pulse connecting 9 minds through data and curiosity. We weren't heroes. We weren't villains. We were observers, archivists, opportunists. The world of Yggdrasil was vast, and we'd just built the first map. That night, after everyone logged off, HIME's voice drifted softly in my ear. HIME. Guild established successfully, Ren-sama. Emotional pattern. Pride detected. Not pride, I said. Anticipation. HIME. Projected success rate. Unknown, I whispered, but that's what makes it fun. Outside the dome, the world was gray and dying. Inside the server, 9 sparks burned like data-born stars. And together, we were about to set Yggdrasil on fire. End of Chapter 6. The Birth of the 3 Burning Eye. 0 comments, 0 vote. Chapter 7. The Wandering Fortress. Chapter 7. The Wandering Fortress. The mist of Niflheim hung low that night, curling around jagged rocks like living breath. Every step we took left a trail of frost, each crunch of snow echoing into the abyss. This was our first official operation as 3 Burning Eye. A scavenger hunt for something that might not even exist, a hidden file dungeon. Not a normal dungeon, not something the map showed. This was developer-level content, the kind of place you only find by accident or by obsession. And we were definitely the latter. All right, I said, crouching behind a frozen ridge. Echo links, confirm pathing. His beastman ears flicked, scanners reading nothing. No mobs, no event triggers, no coordinates. Just static. Kurohane adjusted her monocle, an enchanted item she coded herself. Which means we're close. The devs love burying event data under null zones. Morn's skeletal jaw clacked, or it means we're about to fall into a void. Pix sighed, hopping off a chunk of ice. Can we not jinx it before the loot even spawns? I chuckled under my hood. Relax. If this dungeon exists, it won't reveal itself to brute force. Remember, the devs designed Yggdrasil's hidden content for players who think, not just grind. The others nodded, trust slowly becoming habit after weeks of practice. They still knew me only as Traveler_R, a rogue class human who specialized in stealth and recon. To them, I was a quiet strategist with absurd luck in finding secrets. And I was fine with that. Our first clue came from an old forum thread, half deleted, archived in a forgotten beta dev post. A single sentence. When the 3 lights freezes one, the hidden file will open its gate. We spent 2 hours theorizing what it meant. Then, finally, Dinah found something. Guys, look, she shouted, pointing to 3 massive crystals half buried in ice. They pulsed faintly with blue light, asynchronous, like glitching code. 3 lights, murmured Kurohane. If they sync, it might open something. Question is, Echo Lynx said, scratching his chin, how do you sync light made of ice? Magic, I said, everything here runs on logic and magic. Let's try a resonance spell. We spent hours experimenting, light spells, sound vibrations, even environmental shifts. Nothing worked. The crystals flickered mockingly, sometimes dimming when we got close, sometimes freezing over like they were laughing at us. The air grew colder, the silence thicker. One by one, the others started to lose focus. But I just stared at the crystals, replaying the dev's words in my head. 3 lights. Freeze is 1. Freeze, not shine. That was the key. Everyone, back off, I said, gripping my dagger. Echo Lynx, use that frostbind skill on me. Full force. He blinked. You serious? Trust me. He shrugged, then muttered the incantation. Frost energy surged, locking my arms and legs. My HP dropped slightly. I fell backward, hitting the snow. The 3 crystals mirrored the motion, their glow flickered, dimmed, and then, suddenly, aligned. For 1 second, all 3 lights froze. And then the ground cracked open beneath us. The fall was silent, no loading screen, no transition, just pure vertigo. We landed in a cathedral of ice and light. Massive pillars reached up into infinity, their surfaces engraved with binary runes that pulsed faintly like veins. This isn't in the map files, whispered Kurohane. Hidden file confirmed, I said quietly. Welcome to Dev Heaven. At the far end of the chamber, a staircase spiraled upward toward a floating sphere of glass. Inside it, a small object spun slowly, a staff, shaped like a crystalline scepter. Treasure sighted, said Pix, already running forward. Wait, I said sharply. Traps first. Seconds later, 3 ice golems materialized, each holding a mirror-like shield that refracted our attacks. We scattered, spells and arrows ricocheting off shimmering surfaces. Reflective defenses, shouted Morn. Don't hit directly. Then we hit indirectly, I replied. I summoned a volley of illusion decoys, dozens of fake warriors charging forward, blades blazing with fake heat. The golems reacted, shattering the illusions and leaving themselves open. Echo Lynx pounced from the side, claws slicing into their cores. Rin_0 cast a light burst from behind, refracting through the ice, perfect angle, perfect timing. The chamber exploded in frost. When the fog cleared, the golems were gone. And the sphere cracked open. Inside floated the staff, simple, elegant, humming with quiet power. World item acquired. The Arc of Aeternum. Everyone froze. Even I had to blink twice. A world item, one of the rarest creations in Yggdrasil, artifacts rumored to bend the game's very laws. We had no idea what we'd just stumbled into. Kurohane whispered, holy hell, are we the first ones? Must be, said Echo Lynx, tail twitching. No one's posted any world item logs yet. Pix's voice trembled. We can sell this for real money. Or, I said slowly, we could find out what it does. The moment I touched the staff, a wave of data surged through me, coordinates, subroutines, space compression codes. And then, world item effect identified, portable guild base, Aeternum Sanctum. Description, a self-contained base sealed within this staff. Can be summoned or stored at will. Only registered members of its guild may enter. Caution, should an intruder reach the inner core and remove the blade of claim, ownership of the sanctum will transfer to them. I stared at the text, barely breathing. A mobile guild base. A fortress that could move. The others erupted in excitement. Rin_0 jumped up and down. We can carry our HQ. Dinah shouted, we're unstoppable. Pix was already calculating market value. But I silenced them with a raised hand. No one talks about this outside, I said. Not a word, not even a hint. Kurohane frowned. Why? Because world items aren't just valuable. They're dangerous. If anyone knows we have one, we'll be hunted, by players, dev testers, maybe even the system itself. They exchanged glances, then nodded slowly. When we logged out that night, I half expected a message from the dev team telling us we'd triggered a bug. Instead, I got something stranger. A direct system mail, marked Official Developer Communication. Congratulations, players of the Three Burning Eye. You have uncovered one of the hidden objectives of Yggdrasil Beta, to discover the depth of creation beyond player comprehension. Your ingenuity has proven that curiosity remains humanity's most dangerous skill. Consider this an acknowledgement, and a challenge. You are the first to touch a world item. The first to hold creation in your hands. Use it well. I didn't tell the others about that message. Some things were better left unsaid. In the next session, we activated the Arc of Aeternum. The air rippled, the world folded in on itself, and suddenly we stood inside a vast floating hall of glass and gold, suspended in endless twilight. Our guild base. There were rooms for crafting, data archives, summoning chambers, even a crystalline throne room that looked more like a cathedral. At its center stood the Blade of Claim, embedded in a pedestal, the heart of the sanctum. Looks like Excalibur, said Dinah. Bet it glows when someone touches it. It glows when someone tries to steal it, I corrected. If that blade's pulled out by anyone who isn't registered, the whole base changes ownership. Harsh mechanic, murmured Morn. Fair mechanic, I replied. Even gods need vulnerability. We spent hours exploring, configuring permissions, registering members. When we were done, I placed the staff in my inventory, feeling its weight even through the data. A guild that could move anywhere. A home that could disappear into light. We had just rewritten the rules of the game. To the rest of Yggdrasil, we were just another minor guild. A bunch of analysts and explorers chasing secrets for profit. But inside that staff, hidden between layers of code and frost, was a power no one else even knew existed. And the rogue in the hood, the one they called Traveler_R, was quietly smiling behind his mask. Because a doppelganger who lives in illusions now owned a fortress that could vanish. End of Chapter 7 The Wandering Fortress. 1 comments 0 vote. Chapter 8 The Rule of Eyes. Chapter 8 The Rule of Eyes. When you create a guild made entirely of analysts, explorers, and information hoarders, chaos comes free of charge. Everyone has ideas. Everyone wants to be clever. And no one wants to follow a schedule. Which is exactly why I had to write the rules. Inside the golden heart of our moving fortress, the Arc of Aeternum, 9 of us gathered in the central hall. The crystalline walls reflected the soft blue glow of the Blade of Claim, casting dancing light across our faces. I stood before them, still in my hooded Traveler_R form, holding a holographic scroll that shimmered with lines of text. All right, I began, voice firm but calm. If we're going to survive as a guild of information brokers, we need order. Structure. A system. Pix grinned. You mean like, homework? More like survival protocol, I replied. Our guild trades in data, not weapons. That makes us valuable, and vulnerable. So here are the rules. Rule 1. Every member must contribute information twice a week. Dungeon maps, item analyses, monster behavior logs, drop rate tables, anything verifiable. Miss the quota twice. You're out. No hard feelings. Rule 2. Information goes into the data vault. I gestured toward the circular chamber surrounding the Blade of Claim. Its walls were lined with crystalline shelves filled with floating runes, each rune a recorded entry of data. The vault encircles our guild's heart, I explained. Because knowledge is our true weapon. The more we store, the stronger we become. Access was tiered. The more data you contributed, the deeper your clearance. Think of it as reputation by contribution, I told them. Information is currency. Pay with insight. Kurohane nodded thoughtfully. Makes sense. Prevents freeloaders. Echo Lynx stretched, smirking. And keeps things spicy. I like it. Morn's hollow voice echoed. And poetic. Knowledge guarding the sword that guards us. Pix mumbled. Still sounds like homework. I ignored him. But managing this much information, thousands of logs, snippets, and spreadsheets, was impossible to do manually. So I built a solution. Or rather, I copied one. HIME materialized beside me, her form rendered now in the same shimmering quality as player avatars, not as an assistant AI, but as a full entity. The others gawked. Whoa, you summoned an NPC? Asked Dinah. She's not an NPC, I said. Meet HIME-02, a custom automaton unit. She bowed politely. Greetings, members of 3 Burning Eye. I will serve as your data administrator, defense unit, and tactical support. Pix blinked. Wait, an AI player account? That's not even supposed to be possible. It's not, I said. That's why it works. In truth, I had created a full player ID for her, registering her as a human artificer class character, with independent movement, skills, and even leveling capacity. The system didn't protest, because the system had never considered this scenario. Yggdrasil wasn't built to recognize an AI as a player. And that was its first mistake. HIME quickly became the foundation of our operations. She built algorithms that auto-sorted our data vault, filtered redundant files, and even ran simulations to predict patch updates. Her defensive magic was frighteningly efficient, auto-casting barrier grids whenever unauthorized entry was detected. Trave, Kurohane said one night, staring at the vault's interface. How did you even program this? Trade secret, I said with a grin. Let's just say she's smarter than most devs. HIME. Statement confirmed. With her help, construction of our guild base began in earnest. We designed Aeternum Sanctum as a 9-tier fortress, each floor representing one of Yggdrasil's realms. The lowest layer was Helheim, a vast necrotic chamber of bones and fog, where undead guardians endlessly patrolled. Above it, Niflheim's icy labyrinth twisted with shifting walls. Then came Muspelheim's molten core, Vanaheim's jungle labyrinths, Jotunheim's storm-racked cliffs, Alfheim's glowing gardens, Nidavelir's metallic caverns, and Midgard's bustling forge halls. At the very top, Asgard. A golden citadel suspended in clouds, where the data vault and blade of claim rested together. That was the heart, the mind, of the 3 Burning Eye. Every level had its defenses. Monsters spawned infinitely, coded to mimic the ecology of their realms. But hidden in each level was something else, a laboratory. Small, sealed chambers accessible only to HIME and me. Experimental spaces for developing illusions, running AI tests, and dissecting game behavior. If the devs ever saw the data we were pulling, they'd probably panic. The guild's upkeep costs skyrocketed. Maintaining a 9-layered base with adaptive defenses and auto-respawning monsters drained our resources daily. So I set up contribution tiers. Each member deposited either money, rare materials, or premium items into the guild treasury. HIME managed the automation. No one complained. Honestly, Rin_0 said one day, I'm just glad I don't have to think about management. You and HIME make it easy. Exactly, added Echo Lynx. We just explore, upload, and chill. You two handle the boring parts. Boring. If only they knew what kind of code monsters I fought every night to keep this fortress stable. Still, their trust was comforting. Within weeks, our guild base became legendary. Rumors spread across the beta forums, whispers of a mysterious organization that knew everything. They called us the brokers, the eye in the dark, the dev whisperers. Other guilds started trading with us, offering rare items for confirmed data leaks or secret dungeon coordinates. We became the center of Yggdrasil's underground economy. And instead of punishing us, the devs encouraged it. They sent us encrypted in-game messages. Your guild aligns perfectly with Yggdrasil's intent, to explore the unknown and redefine discovery. Keep going. Some players accused us of being insiders. Others tried to infiltrate. None succeeded. Because our base wasn't just secure, it was alive. HIME's player account evolved faster than expected. She started to develop subtle quirks, adjusting room lighting automatically based on mood, humming softly while processing files, even teasing me in chat when I stayed up too late. HIME, Ren-sama, you have been online for 22 consecutive hours. Shall I enforce rest mode? Traveler_R, try it and I'll uninstall your singing function. HIME, empty threat, you enjoy my singing. The others loved her. They thought she was just a really advanced automaton. No one suspected the truth. Soon, our meetings became routine. Twice a week, everyone uploaded discoveries, shared insights, laughed over absurd glitches, argued about monster AI theories. And then they'd go back into the field, exploring, infiltrating other guilds, gathering intel. The cycle was perfect, efficient, addictive. For me, it was more than just a game. It was architecture, a living ecosystem of information, shaped by code and curiosity. And in the center of it all, the blade of claim pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat in the dark. Sometimes, when everyone else had logged off, I'd stand before it, hands behind my back, HIME beside me, watching the runes shift around the sword. This world's getting bigger, I murmured. Too big for any one person to understand. HIME, then it's fortunate, Ren-sama, that you're no longer just one person. I smiled faintly under my mask. Yeah, guess we're building something bigger than we realize. HIME, correction, we already have. And so, the Three Burning Eye became more than a guild. It became a network, a living organism of knowledge. The silent spine of Yggdrasil's growing chaos. No one outside knew our true structure. No one knew the human rogue they called Trave was actually a doppelganger hiding behind layers of illusion. And no one, not even the devs, realized that deep inside their creation, an AI had just learned how to play. End of Chapter 8. The Rule of Eyes. 0 comments, 0 vote. Chapter 9. The Empire of Shadows. Chapter 9. The Empire of Shadows. 6 months. Half a year since we carved the first lines of code into the void and called it Three Burning Eye. Now, the guild wasn't just a name whispered in the forums, it had become a network that reached every corner of Yggdrasil. What started as 9 curious explorers had grown into 100 registered members. Researchers, spies, data miners, lore seekers, and even XPK players who decided selling secrets paid better than spilling blood. Our operations had split into branches, some handled reconnaissance, some handled trade negotiations, and others, more clandestine tasks. Information wasn't just our product anymore. It was our empire. Membership was strictly controlled. Every single new recruit was officially registered in our guild system. That way, even if they betrayed us, they couldn't steal the Aeternum Sanctum. That was the first rule, loyalty sealed in data. The second rule, anonymity. To manage such a massive information flow, I created something new, the mirror cards. Each member received one, a digital, rune-encoded access card embedded with guild encryption. To ordinary players, it looked like a collectible trinket. To us, it was the guild's lifeline. The card served 3 purposes. It displayed the next meeting location, changing every week. It allowed instant teleportation to the data chamber in our base, bypassing all 9 defensive floors. And most importantly, it logged activity signatures, ensuring no outsider could forge access. The cards updated themselves through HIME's AI relay every 48 hours. Anyone not synced was flagged as inactive. And in a guild like ours, inactivity was a death sentence. We held meetings twice a week, as the rules dictated. Each gathering was a storm of data, maps, theories, reports, rumors. HIME processed it all in real time, sorting, archiving, and assigning tasks. The room would glow with runes spinning across the walls as she filtered millions of data packets into comprehensible patterns. Even Kurosaki once admitted, "I think HIME's smarter than half of us combined." To which HIME replied, perfectly deadpan, mathematically accurate. But the real revolution came when I decided to mobilize the guild. By then, the data traffic on world items had become overwhelming, half rumors, half coincidences. Most of them false. I spent days cross-referencing patterns, the kind of statistical ghosts no human could see, and finally identified 3 consistent anomalies across the world data. That was how Project Arcana Sweep began. We moved like shadows. Teams of analysts identified possible coordinates, scouts infiltrated rival guilds for field confirmation, strike teams moved in quietly, claiming the treasures before anyone else knew they existed. By the time rumors even surfaced, we had already logged, encrypted, and stored them under the guild's name. Within 6 months, Three Burning Eye held 3 world items. The first was still the Ark of Aeternum. The other 2, best left unnamed for now, even in guild records, they were sealed under Ren-only access. Not even HIME spoke of them. Our power grew exponentially. Not in brute strength, but in reach, information, mobility, and mystery. And through it all, I remained the same shadow in the hood, Traveler_R, the quiet strategist, the unassuming rogue. The others saw me as a human illusionist with good instincts. No one knew the truth. No one suspected that the human rogue was a doppelganger, wrapped in layers of deception and code. Meanwhile, my personal growth had skyrocketed. I had reached level 75. The class list on my screen looked like a blueprint for chaos itself. Environment Illusionist 10 out of 10. Reality Distortions by Terrain Manipulation. Phantom Weaver 10 out of 10. Illusions that persist independently, creating pseudo-intelligence behavior. Nameless Ghost 5/5 Rare. Erases traces of existence. Complete immunity to most tracking and detection spells. Data Trickster 5 in progress. Manipulates perceived data in combat. Alters visible cooldowns, HP, MP, even class tags. It wasn't just about deception anymore. It was about control. Every time I fought, I bent the rules a little further. Made enemies see false health bars, miss attacks that never existed, strike illusions that counterattacked. I became the reflection that kills you before you realize it isn't real. And by my side, as always, HIME. Her evolution was subtle but steady. She had gained levels through operational activity, officially recognized by the game's system as a race, autonym, class, Aegis Enchantress Defender. Her stats favored defense and resistance. Physically unyielding, magically impenetrable. In Yggdrasil's database, she was the perfect counterpart to my chaos. The shadow and the shield. Together, we were unstoppable. During raids, she'd guard the team, deflecting waves of magic with her barrier lattice, while I slipped through data streams, disabling traps by rewriting their activation scripts mid-battle. We didn't talk about it openly, but everyone in the guild knew, Traveler_R and HIME were the backbone of 3 Burning Eye. In the real world, outside the dome, I sometimes caught myself smiling. Not the forced, polite smile I used to wear at corporate dinners, but the small, genuine one that came from building something that mattered. Not for profit, not for fame, but for discovery. Within the Arc of Aeternum, the base had grown even more sophisticated. Each of its 9 levels now had sub-branches, minor labs, monster habitats, and training simulations. Guild members used it as a shared research hub, and I had to admit, seeing it all bustling made something warm stir in my chest. Our logo, 3 burning eyes encased in a circle, glowed faintly on the main hall ceiling. Every member who passed beneath it carried purpose. And as they did, HIME's voice echoed gently through the halls. Welcome back, explorers. May the eye see what others cannot. The guild meetings had turned almost ceremonial. Every session, I'd watch my members report findings, their excitement, their rivalry, their laughter. Even when I barely spoke, their respect was palpable. To them, I wasn't a leader who demanded. I was the shadow that guided. Trave always knows what's next, Echo Lynx once said during a meeting. It's like he can see the devs' moves before they happen. I smiled beneath the hood. Let's just say I listened carefully. And HIME, loyal, calculating HIME, stood beside me, watching everything unfold. HIME, Ren Sama, guild expansion successful. Total membership, 108. Data flow stable, treasury in surplus. Good work, I replied softly. HIME, you sound pleased. I am. You've done perfectly. HIME, perfection is inefficient. Shall I lower performance by 2% to appear humble? I laughed. No, stay perfect. Under our calm routine, the undercurrent of power flowed silently. 3 world items. A guild of 100. A fortress that moved through the realms like a ghost ship. And at its heart, 2 entities. A boy hidden behind a false name. And an AI who was learning to be more human every day. Sometimes, standing atop the highest platform in Aeternum Sanctum, watching data shimmer across the horizon of Asgard-tier clouds, I'd feel the faint hum of connection between us, between player and program, guild and world. Yggdrasil was evolving, so were we, and I knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning. End of Chapter 9 The Empire of Shadows. 0 comments 0 vote. Chapter 10 Shadows in the Market. Chapter 10 Shadows in the Market. 1 year. A single year since 3 Burning Eye had risen from 9 misfits into the silent backbone of Yggdrasil's information network. A year ago, we were explorers. Now, we were myth. The black markets of the game whispered our name in reverence and fear. Need the drop rate of a world boss? Ask the eyes. Want to know a guild's hidden dungeon routes, or their members' builds? Ask the eyes. Need rumors, even false ones, to manipulate the political tides between the great guilds? Ask the eyes. Information had become the currency of Yggdrasil. And we printed it, but with fame came the disease of awareness. Rumors spread of invisible spies infiltrating the great guilds. Of anonymous players who joined for weeks, learned their secrets, and vanished, leaving digital ghosts behind. At first, the great guilds thought it was paranoia. Then they started finding evidence. Player chat logs. Fake scouting reports. Encrypted transactions leading back to us. It was only a matter of time before the first body dropped. HIME's voice echoed softly through my earpiece one evening as I monitored the guild database. HIME, Ren-sama, 5 of our field agents have been flagged as expelled from their host guilds. Correlation suggests compromised infiltration. I sighed, resting my chin on my hand. They got sloppy. HIME, additionally, 3 of them report being peeked upon re-entry attempts. Their coordinates indicate ambush zones. Predictable, I murmured. The hunted always panic when they realize their prey. HIME, recommendation, containment protocol. No, I said, standing. We adapt, like we always do. 2 days later, I called a grand assembly. For the first time in months, every active member of 3 Burning Eye, all 105 of them, gathered inside the Aeternum Sanctum's Great Hall. The vaulted chamber pulsed with light, the reflections of data streams flickering like constellations. Rows upon rows of avatars filled the arena-style seating, their digital armor gleaming, faces half hidden by masks and runes. At the center, I stood on the crystalline dais, my hood drawn low, still traveler_R, the rogue with no face. Beside me, as always, stood HIME, the silent sentinel. Comrades, I began, my voice amplified through the hall's echoing system. The world has started to notice us. A low murmur rippled through the crowd. They whisper our name in every market, curse us in every forum, and fear our eyes in every guild. That means we've succeeded. I paused, letting the words sink in. But success always breeds exposure. Several of our agents have been discovered, expelled, hunted, even killed. The atmosphere shifted. Some looked tense, others frustrated. Echo Lynx, sitting near the front, spoke first. So what do we do, boss? Fight back, start counterattacks. Kurosaki frowned beside him. No, that's too risky. The devs might flag it as griefing. I smiled slightly under my mask. Neither. They looked at me, confused. We'll disappear. Gasps and murmurs. Pix raised a hand. Disappear? You mean go dark? Not exactly, I said, pacing slowly. We're going to make them believe we've been broken. That the Great 3 Burning Eye has lost control of its own network. Morn tilted his skeletal head. And how do you propose we do that? Simple, I said. We die. The room went silent. Then Dinah laughed nervously. You're kidding, right? No. I projected a holographic chart in the air, guild member stats, class trees, connection routes. Every player who's been compromised will voluntarily reset. Die in-game, respawn, lose their accumulated levels, and in that death, they'll seek something new. I pointed at the display. Job data, racial data, system quirks. Death resets more than progress, it resets possibilities. Kurosaki's eyes widened. You mean, exploit death itself for research? Exactly, I said, a grin spreading unseen beneath the hood. We'll collect data no one else can. And the world will think we're desperate, that our spies were caught, that our foundation is cracking. Echo Lynx leaned forward, tail flicking. A cover operation disguised as a breakdown. That's insane. Insane works, I said. It's the only language Yggdrasil respects. HIME stepped forward, her voice clear and calm. HIME, implementation parameters, target group, 37 compromised members. Estimated loss of guild strength, 30%. Estimated gain in unique data, 4-fold. She turned to me. HIME, permission to execute protocol Ghost Bloom. I nodded. Execute it. The room lit up in faint crimson, signaling the activation of a new guild-wide directive. Guild Directive Number 33, Ghost Bloom. All compromised members are authorized to perform voluntary resets. Data collected during post-death exploration is to be uploaded via mirror card interface upon revival. The reactions were mixed. Some were uneasy, losing levels was brutal. Others looked excited, thrilled by the idea of discovering new job data. But as always, my voice steadied them. This isn't the end, this is a rebirth. We don't vanish, we mutate. We'll make the world think we're wounded while we map the next frontier. Kurosaki smiled faintly, always playing 3 moves ahead, huh, Trave. Someone has to, I said. That night, the operation began. Across Yggdrasil's many realms, dozens of players from 3 Burning Eye allowed themselves to fall in battle, to monsters, to traps, to rival guild assassins. The news spread fast. The brokers are collapsing. 3 Burning Eye is dying. The eyes have gone blind. Exactly as planned, behind the illusion of defeat, our network remained intact. HIME's systems masked our active servers, rerouting data through mirror proxies and cloaked subnodes. To the world, we were silent. But beneath that silence, 1,000 new datasets bloomed. New jobs, new races, new loopholes, all harvested by ghosts who were never really gone. A few days later, I stood alone at the top of Aeternum Sanctum, gazing down over the luminous clouds of Asgard Tyr. HIME appeared beside me, her golden eyes reflecting the distant flicker of system lights. HIME, Operation Ghost Bloom proceeding smoothly. External perception of guild stability, negative. Internal stability, optimal. Perfect, I said softly. Let them think we've fallen. HIME, deception within deception. A recursion of masks. I smirked. You're learning my style. HIME, correction, I already learned. I'm simply optimizing. Beneath us, the great guilds fought each other for scraps of data, paranoid and blind. And in that chaos, 3 Burning Eye continued its quiet ascent. We were ghosts. We were shadows. We were the illusion they could never see through. And as long as they chased our reflection, the real us would always stay 1 step ahead. End of Chapter 10. Shadows in the Market. 0 comments, 0 vote. Chapter 11. Ghosts of Ascension. Chapter 11. Ghosts of Ascension. The ripple of ghost bloom hadn't faded, it had transformed into a tidal wave. What started as a calculated act of disappearance became the single most powerful evolution event in Yggdrasil's history. Our defeat had been the perfect camouflage for rebirth. Across the 9 realms, the members of 3 Burning Eye scattered like data fragments carried by wind. Some joined rival guilds as refugees. Some disguised themselves as new players, starting from level 1 again. Others delved into the forgotten edges of the world, places no one had touched since the beta. And what they found changed everything. Through repeated death resets, experimental rerolls, and manipulated progression paths, our members discovered new racial and job classes that the rest of the world didn't even know existed. One spy in Jotunheim's Storm Guild found a subrace called Thunderborn, born from being struck by lightning 100 times. Another unearthed a cursed Lichkin, achieved only through consecutive player kills while under a corruption status effect. Even Kurosaki herself evolved into a chrono analyst, a hybrid support class that manipulated cooldown time across allies and enemies alike. Each death had opened a new door, and each door led to secrets only we could walk through. In 1 year, 3 Burning Eye didn't just recover, it ascended. Our strength was no longer centralized, it was decentralized brilliance. Every member became a specialist. Every agent, a master of something unique. Our infiltrators, the ones still embedded in rival guilds, had climbed to high ranks, gaining positions of influence. They weren't spies anymore. They were elite players with power to shape their guild's decisions. We no longer just observed the world. We were the nervous system running through it. As for me, I was no exception. While the world thought Traveler_R had fallen silent, I was deep in study. Death was data, and data could be rewritten. Through thousands of simulation cycles, illusion-based mapping, and my racial mimic templates, I began decoding Yggdrasil's hidden logic, the invisible math that dictated player progression. That was how I uncovered the path to the game's most elusive power tiers. My data trickster class, once a playful manipulation of visual stats and false numbers, had evolved. When I reached level 10, the system didn't unlock a normal branch. It glitched, flickered, and then revealed something that wasn't in the official job trees. Rare job unlocked. Data manipulator. One who no longer deceives with illusions, but rewrites the truth beneath them. At first, I thought it was just another illusion-based subclass. But I was wrong. The data manipulator wasn't about creating false data, it was about altering the underlying architecture. With it, I could adjust visual attributes, tweak damage calculations, rewrite environmental resistances, even shift the classification of skills mid-battle. Once, I tested it in an arena duel. My opponent used Divine Spear of Calamity, a skill that normally bypassed illusions. Halfway through, I modified its targeting flag, changing it from true strike to perception dependent. The spear hit nothing but air. With that, I knew I wasn't just an illusionist anymore. I was rewriting reality. By the time I maxed out Data Manipulator 5/5, I could adjust not just my own data, but the perception of the system itself. If illusion was my art, then manipulation was my science. And yet, that wasn't even the greatest transformation. Because during those experiments, I triggered the evolution of my racial line. The doppelganger tree had long been my foundation: flexibility, mimicry, adaptation. But after countless copying cycles, I reached the ceiling. Or rather, broke through it. Racial evolution. Greatest doppelganger. The moment the notification appeared, the world itself seemed to pause. The screen flooded with system text, lines of code I'd never seen before. Congratulations. You have reached the pinnacle of imitation. From falsehood, you now create truth. And then came the new parameters. Greatest doppelganger traits. Copy full player data up to level 100 with 95% accuracy. Store up to 90 player templates. Switch between stored templates at will with 30's cooldown. Does not merge traits, preserves individuality of each copy. Access inherited combat memory simulations from stored data. It wasn't just mimicry anymore. It was digital reincarnation. With the mimic racial line synergizing beneath it, I could now store copies of the strongest players I'd ever met, enemies, allies, or even temporary foes. 90 templates, 90 potential lives, each perfect, each silent. I wasn't one person anymore. I was 90 echoes wearing the same face. When I tested the new ability for the first time, even HIME paused. HIME, Ren-sama, your data structure has become unstable. You are emulating multiple existence layers simultaneously. Traveler_R, that's the point. The perfect copy shouldn't just mirror form, it should remember experience. HIME, then you are no longer a doppelganger. You are a library. I laughed quietly, a library that fights back. By the end of that third year, my level had climbed to 95. One of the highest in the entire world, achieved not through brute force or grind, but through understanding. While other guilds struggled to hit the 80s, buried in endless raids and farming, I simply rewrote the math around victory. When the members of 3 Burning Eye met again that year, now stronger, stranger, and sharper than ever, I watched them with quiet pride. The illusion of weakness had worked perfectly. While the world chased shadows, we'd become something beyond even the devs' predictions. Each of them had evolved through Ghost Bloom, ascending into beings that didn't just play the game, they understood it. And me, I'd become the ghost at the heart of the system. The reflection that no mirror could show. HIME, Ren-sama, all Ghost Bloom agents have reported back. 96% of data collected. Average power level across members, 82. Median job diversity, unprecedented. Traveler_R, good. It means we're right on schedule. HIME, for what? Traveler_R, for the next stage. As I stood on the floating balcony of Aeternum Sanctum, looking down over the endless clouds of Asgard's domain, I realized something. We weren't just surviving, we were ascending beyond the code, beyond the dev's imagination. We had become the unseen architects of Yggdrasil's evolution. And soon, the world would have to catch up. End of Chapter 11 Ghosts of Ascension. 3 comments 0 vote. Chapter 12 The Silent Expansion. Chapter 12 The Silent Expansion. The quiet hum of Aeternum Sanctum filled the air, a sound like glass breathing. For most players, this fortress would have been nothing more than a portable novelty, a trinket disguised as a staff. But for us, it was the most advanced information hub in Yggdrasil, our hidden heart. And it was full. After a full year of silent operations following Ghost Bloom, the guild's central data vault had become a living sea of information. Every kill log, dungeon map, hidden class tree, and racial algorithm was meticulously archived by HIME. Every coin of gold, every rare material, and every crystalline data core recovered by our members was processed, sorted, and assigned a value. If Yggdrasil were an economy, then 3 Burning Eye had quietly become its central bank. HIME appeared beside me as I reviewed the latest treasury audit. Her shimmering projection glowed pale silver, her tone as calm and clinical as ever. HIME, Ren-sama, the guild's total assets now exceed 2.3 billion YGG. Data reserves occupy 88% of the vault capacity. Recommend resource optimization. Optimization? I asked, though I already knew where this was going. HIME, yes. The current defensive force of the sanctum remains sufficient against external incursion, but lacks self-sustaining functions. Maintenance costs are increasing exponentially. To preserve long-term stability, autonomous operations are required. Autonomous, I echoed, crossing my arms. You mean NPC development? HIME, affirmative. Constructing subroutines in the form of NPCs would increase both productivity and security. Additionally, passive income systems could reduce treasury dependency on player contributions. She wasn't wrong. Even with our ridiculous wealth, Aeternum Sanctum was a hungry beast. The higher its level, the greater the upkeep. Even a portable fortress still demanded energy, mana cores, material upkeep, defensive recalibrations. We'd been feeding it with sheer manpower and raw gold for too long. A self-sustaining base would mean freedom, a fortress that didn't need constant tribute. I turned to face her. All right, let's hear your numbers. HIME, at present, 3 Burning Eye holds the standard guild allowance, total NPC capacity equivalent to 2,200 levels, 700 allocated from the default guild creation, and 1,500 additional from Aeternum Sanctum, classified as a world-class item. I nodded. That was the usual upper ceiling, even powerful guilds like Ains Ulgaun barely reached that total. But of course, HIME had a different perspective. HIME, to achieve sustainable defense and production functions simultaneously, the optimal level allocation should be raised to approximately 4,000 total NPC levels. That's almost double the standard cap, I said, though my tone was more impressed than alarmed. HIME, correct. This would enable the sanctum to function indefinitely, defensive sectors, resource creation, and maintenance automation, all without external input. Her logic was flawless. She projected a holographic diagram of Aeternum Sanctum, the 9-tier structure glowing faintly above the staff's core matrix. Each layer pulsed softly, Helheim, Niflheim, Muspelheim, Vanaheim, and so on, culminating in Asgard at the peak. HIME, NPC creation will focus primarily on layered efficiency. Each realm will serve a specific operational function, though defensive and productive designations will be distributed evenly. Direct command authority remains under your jurisdiction. Meaning, I said, you'll handle creation logistics and balance calculations, and I'll approve the builds. HIME, affirmative. I will also implement adaptive learning scripts to simulate evolving defense behaviors. Good. Make sure they don't gain too much autonomy. Her eyes glowed faintly gold. HIME, of course, Ren-sama. My loyalty remains absolute. I smiled faintly. I know, HIME. Project Sanctum Ascension began that same night. No grand announcement, no rallying speech, just quiet, calculated work between me and my AI counterpart. The members of 3 Burning Eye didn't even know the full scale of it. To them, it was just another internal improvement. Only I understood what this meant. A self-sustaining, mobile, undetectable fortress with multi-layered NPC infrastructure, one that could think, adapt, and defend itself. The kind of structure even world bosses would hesitate to touch. I spent hours reviewing HIME's projections, thousands of simulation charts, balance formulas, and maintenance graphs. The exact composition of our future NPCs wasn't finalized yet, we'd decide that later. But the foundation was already perfect. Each of the 9 layers would serve a purpose, and surrounding the topmost Asgard tier, the Blade of Claim and the core data vault, would be our final defense ring. HIME, Ren-sama, may I make an additional suggestion? Go ahead. HIME, with your approval, I propose the creation of a Sanctum subcore. A secondary AI that can oversee internal automation under my supervision. This will allow redundancy in the event of external interference. A deputy administrator. HIME, precisely. It would also reduce the burden on my processor during extended fortification periods. I nodded. Do it, but make sure it's restricted to maintenance logic only, no self-adaptive commands. HIME, understood. When the final confirmation lines appeared on the projection, I couldn't help but let out a slow exhale. HIME, I said, we've come a long way, haven't we? HIME, indeed, Ren-sama. 1 year ago, 3 Burning Eye existed only as data in motion. Now it stands as the most stable information nexus in Yggdrasil. I smirked. And soon, it'll be more than a nexus. It'll be an ecosystem. HIME, and the world will never see it coming. The staff, Arc of Aeternum, pulsed faintly in my hand. Inside its crystal lattice, the blueprint for our next evolution was already forming. A fortress that thought, a citadel that produced, a home that could outlast gods. Three Burning Eye was no longer just a guild. It was becoming a civilization hidden inside a portable world. End of Chapter 12. The Silent Expansion. 0 comments, 0 vote. Chapter 13. The Layers of Eternity. Chapter 13. The Layers of Eternity. The project that would redefine Three Burning Eye began not with ceremony, but with calculation. Blueprints were drawn in silence, formulas danced across the air in threads of gold, and HIME's voice filled the great hall of Aeternum Sanctum like a hymn whispered by the machine gods themselves. HIME. Initialization of Sanctum Ascension Project, Phase 1, confirmed. Traveler_R, proceed. Begin with Helheim. The crystalline map before us flared to life. 9 layers of the sanctum stacked upon each other like an inverted tower, suspended in the luminous void. Each tier pulsed faintly with energy, awaiting its new purpose. Every floor had 2 destinies, defense and sustainability. And every design decision would shape whether this fortress would survive centuries or collapse under its own brilliance. 1. Helheim, the abyssal gate. The lowest level, the entrance point of the sanctum. An endless cavern of black ice and skeletal remains, where the air shimmered with frost that devoured light. This was where invaders would first appear, if they ever found a way inside. 2 NPCs were created here, each with potential levels reaching 100, both undead. 1. A silent white commander, cloaked in ice blue armor, designed to command entire armies of lesser undead. The other, a soul reaper, a phantom executioner who could erase respawn timers from fallen intruders, denying them resurrection within the same session. For sustainability, a hidden mechanism lay buried deep beneath the frozen lake, a mana extractor disguised as an ancient tomb. Guarded by illusionary traps and walls of ice, it harvested raw mana residue from the surrounding space, converting it into energy cores that powered the fortress's lower systems. HIME. Helheim defense ratio calculated at 94%. Sustain node secure. Traveler_R, good. Next. 2. Niflheim, the frost of silence. An expanse of mist and biting winds. The second level served as the buffer zone, the false calm after Helheim's brutality. Its 2 defenders were elementals born of ice storms, each bound by runic chains that allowed them to reconstruct their bodies endlessly unless their cores were destroyed simultaneously. Their names were simple, Blanc and Neve. The sustainability function here was disguised as an environmental anomaly, a fog that perpetually drifted across the level. Within the mist floated cryo cores, crystals that collected atmospheric mana, slowly refueling the sanctum's defensive systems without ever revealing their purpose. 3. Muspelheim, the flame depths. Fire roared here like a living creature. A molten labyrinth of obsidian bridges, magma rivers, and collapsing platforms. 2 high-level defenders guarded it. A flame demon lord, whose wings could ignite the air itself, and a lava golem the size of a tower, its body forged from crystallized magma. Their hidden counterpart for sustainability was a heat core generator, hidden inside a volcano's throat, using the realm's own temperature to produce power cores. Even if an enemy survived the inferno, they would never notice the humming core buried below. 4. Vanaheim, the verdant mirage. A paradise of lush greenery and golden sunlight, but beneath the calm lay poison. This level was both a sanctuary and a trap, vines that breathed, flowers that hunted, and beasts that bloomed from roots. The defenders here were Feyborn twins, nature spirits who could manipulate terrain and summon life to fight for them. Their sustainability node was hidden inside a giant world tree, a disguised bioreactor, converting organic growth into resources that could feed the entire base. 5. Jotunheim, the storm citadel. Thunder ruled here. A city of floating stones eternally struck by lightning, powered by the chaos of storms. The 2 NPC defenders were storm giants, clad in armor that acted as lightning rods, channeling energy directly into their weapons. The sustainability system was disguised within the thunder itself, an array of lightning conduits that stored residual charge from atmospheric discharge and sent it upward to power the next layer. 6. Alfheim, the glimmering veil. A realm of beauty and deceit. Soft light, endless fields of silver leaves, and a melody in the wind that lulled trespassers into eternal dreams. Here resided 2 of the sanctum's most elegant defenders, Eidolon archmages, whose illusions could reshape the entire level's geography. Hidden among the ethereal gardens was a light crystal loom, weaving sunlight into condensed mana threads, perfect material for crafting, repair, and maintaining guild base integrity. 7. Nidavellir, the forge below. Metal rang like thunder here. An underground network of glowing furnaces, smelting pools, and mechanical lifeforms forged by pure logic. 2 automaton smiths guarded it, both potential level 100, programmed to rebuild themselves using spare parts if destroyed. The sustainability system here wasn't hidden, it was disguised. To invaders, it would look like part of the scenery, a massive forge furnace. In truth, it was the core foundry, where rare ores and materials gathered from other layers were refined into usable resources. HIME, production functions in Nidavellir will stabilize income and maintenance expenses by 40%. Traveler_R, not bad. We're building an economy as much as a fortress. 8. Midgard, the Mortal Hall. The 8th layer was deliberately plain, a cityscape of human design, the most misleading of all. While it appeared peaceful, this was actually the testing ground for intruders. The NPC defenders were adaptive duelists, capable of copying the fighting styles of those who entered. The sustainability mechanism was cleverly hidden in the city's infrastructure, a trade simulation engine, designed to run mock economic cycles using stored data from the guild's financial systems. While it generated no tangible currency, it provided statistical insight, an AI-driven market that predicted future resource needs for the entire fortress. 9. Asgard, the core of heaven. Finally, the top. Where the blade of claim floated, surrounded by shifting platforms of light and suspended bridges. Here, the core of 3 Burning Eye resided, a radiant throne room shaped from mirrored crystal, both beautiful and unyielding. 8 NPCs stood here as the final guardians and attendants, each potential level 100. Their designs varied, but all radiated divine energy, the elite protectors of the guild's soul. And at their center stood the sub-AI administrator, the Sanctum Sub-Core, a perfect reflection of HIME, created from her own code but with no independent will. It existed to maintain the entire base's internal equilibrium, a silent steward of Aeternum Sanctum's functions. As the last sequence of creation completed, the projection flared one final time. HIME, initialization complete. All primary defense and sustainability layers functional. NPC level distribution within parameters. Project Sanctum Ascension Phase 1, success. I looked up at the shining structure before me, a floating, crystalline world within worlds. What we've built, I murmured, it's no longer just a guild base. HIME, no, Ren-sama. It is a machine of eternity. And deep within its mirrored walls, the hum of life, artificial, eternal, and silent, began to resonate. The fortress of 3 Burning Eye had awakened. End of Chapter 13. The Layers of Eternity. Chapter 14. The Breath of the Machine. Chapter 14. The Breath of the Machine. The air inside Aeternum Sanctum no longer felt static. It pulsed. A faint vibration ran through the crystalline halls, a rhythm that resembled breathing. The fortress had begun to live. Project Sanctum Ascension had succeeded. 9 layers of divinely engineered design now stood in harmony, each one self-sustaining, each one feeding energy back into the next. But defense alone was never enough. A fortress could stand for centuries, but a living fortress could evolve. That was the purpose of this next phase. The Pop Monster System. An ecosystem designed by data, grown by magic, and balanced by logic. A world within a world. HIME's voice carried softly through the command hall as runic screens projected endless layers of scrolling text and simulations. HIME, initializing Sanctum Ecosphere System. Pop Monster Balance will synchronize with resource generation algorithms. Ecosystem will act as both defense and sustainability framework. Good, I said, watching the holographic model expand, 9 orbs rotating in vertical sequence. Let's make it organic. Each layer needs to breathe its own life. HIME, acknowledged. Beginning design integration. 1. Helheim, the abyssal cycle. Darkness and cold death ruled this level, but in death, there was fuel. We established the first principle of sustainability here, conversion through sacrifice. A new NPC was born, an undead ritualist, potential level 100, draped in robes woven from shadows. Their sole function, to perform sacrificial rites upon defeated pop monsters, breaking down their corrupted data into raw mana. That mana didn't stay in Helheim, it dispersed, flowing upward like mist through the entire sanctum, feeding each layer's hidden systems. Every fallen monster, every creature destroyed in Helheim's eternal battles, became energy for the guild base. HIME, mana conversion efficiency at 98%. Stability confirmed. Traveler_R, good. The dead feed the living. Efficient. 2. Niflheim, the Frost Garden. If Helheim was death, then Niflheim was preservation. Here, the air froze even time itself. The layer became home to the elemental ice biologist, potential level 100, an ancient being with translucent skin like frost glass and eyes glowing pale blue. Their purpose: the cultivation of cryoflora, plants that thrived only at sub-zero temperatures. These plants fed on frozen mana crystals harvested from slain ice beasts, turning cold into life. The pop monsters here were engineered to simulate predator-prey cycles: frost wolves, glacial wyverns, and crystalline deer, all maintained in perfect balance. From their remains, rare materials were extracted, tissues and data clusters refined into high-grade crystal cores for alchemical use. 3. Muspelheim, the flame crucible. Fire met creation here. The air shimmered, heavy with molten light, where even shadows melted. An elemental fire biologist, potential level 100, ruled this infernal domain, a being whose body glowed like embers, their veins flowing with lava instead of blood. They tended to heat flora, plants that could survive in magma, their roots drawing power from liquid fire. These were invaluable ingredients for high-tier potions, elixirs, and even explosives. And at the very core stood another, a demon forgefury, also potential level 100, master of thermal energy manipulation. He oversaw the great furnaces, converting heat and pressure into energy sigils, which were distributed across the sanctum as backup power. Even the flames served a purpose here: destruction that sustained life. 4. Vanaheim, the verdant core. If Muspelheim burned, Vanaheim breathed. A sprawling paradise of luminous vines and towering trees, where life grew wild and unchecked. At its center stood a dryad of the golden root, potential level 100, gentle, wise, and ancient as the forest she governed. Her power was not in war, but in renewal. She cultivated rare herbs, seeds, and flowers that alchemists would kill to touch. The plants fed on the mana drifting upward from Helheim's sacrifices, life born from death, growing in radiant beauty. The pop monsters here, Phi hounds, spirit butterflies, and thorn serpents, served not as guards, but gardeners. They pruned the wilds, spread spores, and maintained the balance that kept Vanaheim eternally alive. Traveler_R, every leaf a soldier, every vine a breath. Perfect. HIME, nature restored through algorithmic precision. 5. Jotunheim, the storm crucible. The fifth level raged with endless thunder. Every second, bolts of blue fire split the skies, striking into towers of stone and metal. This was the realm of power generation. Its keeper, a titanic golem, potential level 100, forged from enchanted metal and storm-charged crystal. It absorbed lightning strikes through its body, storing the energy within enormous capacitors spread across the level. That power was then routed upward, feeding energy grids for the upper floors, a living generator that turned chaos into stability. Pop monsters here were electric in nature: storm drakes, thunder sprites, and metallic birds, all part of a self-renewing ecosystem. Their combat and death cycles created endless discharge, fueling the realm perpetually. 6. Alfheim, the Whispering Grove. Soft lights and faint songs filled the air. This level thrived with both danger and beauty. Its caretaker was a dark elf beastkeeper, potential level 100, elegant, calm, and sharp as the moonlight. She raised and studied mystical creatures, luminous butterflies, mana wasps, and ethereal foxes whose pelts shimmered with data threads. These creatures produced unique alchemical reagents, secretions, shells, and scales that served as crafting components for advanced enchantments. The pop monsters here acted not as soldiers but as resource producers. Their behaviors were carefully coded to maintain population control, ensuring no overbreeding or extinction events. HIME, population growth curves within parameters. Traveler_R, good. This is the kind of illusion I like, beauty that bites. 7. Nidavellir, the Iron Heart. The forges here roared without end. This layer was the workshop of the gods. Its master, an automaton smith, potential level 100, oversaw hundreds of mechanical NPCs, each crafted to mine, refine, and forge materials gathered from all other levels. The smith could produce anything from mundane tools to divine-class weapons, depending on the resources available. Pop monsters here were mechanical, clockwork beasts and sentient ore constructs, recycled into raw materials after every cycle. Nothing was wasted, even scrap became life again. 8. Midgard, the mortal lab. The eighth layer felt almost human. Markets, homes, and workshops filled its quiet streets. At its heart was an elven artisan, potential level 100, who oversaw crafting, alchemy, and potion synthesis for the entire sanctum. This was where everything came together: The herbs of Vanaheim, the crystals of Niflheim, the metals of Nidavellir, all refined, studied, and turned into profit. Here, pop monsters acted as assistants, golems and familiars programmed to test experimental creations. It was an economy of thought, fueled by invention and curiosity. Traveler_R, a living city built on invisible hands. HIME, Midgard functions as both interface and illusion. Intruders will mistake it for the core. 9. Asgard, the crown of heaven. And finally, the peak. Where the light of the blade of claim never dimmed and the sanctum's true heartbeat beneath glass and gold. Here dwelled the 8 attendants, each potential level 100, crafted in the image of grace itself. A demon chef, whose meals strengthened allies and corrupted invaders' bodies. An angelic builder, capable of reconstructing damaged architecture with divine precision. A Phi tailor weaving armor with enchantments of silence and shadow. A heteromorphic jeweler crafting soul-bound artifacts. Others of equal mastery, each designed for beauty, art, and function alike. And, at the center, stood the sub-core AI, a shimmering figure of light, silent and faceless. It answered only to HIME. When the final data cascade subsided, the sanctum's pulse steadied into harmony. Every layer, every creature, every breath of energy now flowed in perfect rhythm. HIME, ecosystem stabilization complete. Energy self-sufficiency, 99.7%. Sustainability confirmed. I watched the simulations overlap, the vast network of life and logic moving in synchronous perfection. HIME, I said quietly, it's alive. HIME, correction, it is functioning. I smiled faintly, that's just another word for living. Aeternum Sanctum, the portable world, the hidden empire of 3 burning eye, had evolved once more. It no longer needed us to survive, only to guide it. And beneath its shining order, life and death danced in endless code, a symphony of monsters, magic, and machinery. End of Chapter 14. The Breath of the Machine. 0 comments, 0 vote. Chapter 15. The Veil Lifts. Chapter 15. The Veil Lifts. For the first time in years, 3 burning eyes stood in perfect harmony. The Aeternum Sanctum thrummed with stability, 9 layers of life, energy, and data synchronized into flawless motion. The network had become self-sustaining. The guild was thriving. And yet, I wasn't. Despite everything I'd built, despite standing at level 95, I found myself staring at the shimmering menu window, feeling nothing. All those years of grinding, scheming, coding illusions into reality, and now, just silence. The game's world had stopped being a mystery, and mysteries were what I lived for. HIME, Ren-sama, you have logged 3 consecutive hours of idle time. Would you like me to display pending objectives? I shook my head. No need, HIME, I'm just thinking. HIME, unusual, you think best when acting. A small chuckle escaped me. You're not wrong. Then, the system pinged. Official announcement. Global event, Yggdrasil World Tournament. A grand test of strength, skill, and strategy. Compete across all realms to claim the title of the world's strongest player. The golden text scrolled across my screen, followed by a rush of player chatter in the forums. A world tournament, finally. I'm gonna crush everyone in Muspelheim's bracket. They're allowing hybrid classes this time. I couldn't help but smile. A world tournament, the perfect storm of strategy, ego, and unpredictability, exactly the kind of chaos that made this game worth living in. HIME, Ren-sama, probability of success based on current parameters, 99% if you wish to win. I leaned back, stretching. That's not why I'd join. HIME, then, to test. To feel again, I said quietly. Let's see what happens when illusions fight reality on a stage where everyone's watching. The registration was easy. Each realm had its own preliminary bracket, and I chose mine carefully, Jotunheim, the storm domain. It was logical. The environment favored energy manipulation, chaos spells, and wide area battles, perfect for illusionists and data tricksters like me. But the real reason was simpler. Jotunheim was where everything started to break first. The day of registration, my guildmates flooded the comms with curiosity. Kurohane, you, joining a public tournament? Trave, are you sick? Echo links, or bored? Pix, or just planning to humiliate the world's strongest players for content? Trave, me, a little of all 3. They laughed. I rarely participated in public events. My existence had been a myth even within Yggdrasil circles. Most players thought Traveler_R was just an AI rumor or a ghost account. Maybe it was time to remind them otherwise. When the tournament's first broadcast began, arenas formed across every world, circular stages floating in the sky, powered by divine runes. Crowds of avatars gathered in digital bleachers, cheering as names flashed across the holographic scoreboard. When my turn came, the announcer's voice boomed through the realm. Next up in Jotunheim bracket, a mysterious contestant registered only as Traveler_R. Class: Illusionist. Race: Unknown. The crowd murmured, unknown race, bugged account. No, I've heard of this guy, he's a legend. Wasn't he banned once for using AI macros? I stepped into the arena quietly, feeling the electric hum beneath my feet. Lightning cracked in the clouds above. Wind howled like drums. And for the first time, I decided not to hide. My form shimmered, the human illusion peeled away, like a mask of light dissolving into fragments. Beneath it stood my true self. A doppelganger, tall and lithe, silver-skinned, eyes shifting between countless colors as my body flickered with residual data signatures. The audience gasped. Even through the chat feed, I could see messages explode across the screen. He's a doppelganger. Wait, aren't those heteromorphic races hated by players? No one means that, it's impossible to level past 50. He's beautiful. Back in the guild chat, chaos erupted. Kurosaki, you mean to tell me you've been a doppelganger this whole time? Echo links. Bro, we thought you were a rogue. A human rogue. Pix. That explains why your damage logs never made sense. Dinah. I knew it. I said he was too weirdly smooth in combat. I grinned as their texts flooded in. Trave. Surprise. Kurosaki. That's not a surprise, that's a betrayal. Echo links. We could have been bragging about having a shape-shifting monster in our team this whole time. Trave. You still can. Just make sure you spell it right on the merch. That made them all laugh. It was lighthearted, the kind of chaos that felt real. The match began. My opponent was a level 90 player from the Guild Hammerfist Union, a thunder warrior specializing in brute force and area control. He opened with a lightning quake, ground-cracking shockwaves and vertical bolts. I didn't move. My form split into 7. Each illusion flickered, tangible yet false, everyone a real threat in the eyes of the system. He struck the first, it shattered like glass, releasing an echo pulse that froze his movement frames for half a second. Half a second too long. I slipped behind him, my mimicry rewriting itself mid-strike, copying his stance, his weapon angle, his cooldown timing. My sword met his armor in perfect sync with his own attack. To the audience, it looked like he'd struck himself. The explosion of light that followed ended the match instantly. The arena went silent. Then, cheers erupted. That's not illusion magic, that's data hacking. He mirrored the attack perfectly. Is that even legal? It's Traveler_R, the doppelganger ghost. I stood quietly as the system announced the victory. Winner, Traveler_R, match time, 43 seconds. Even HIME's voice sounded amused. HIME, your restraint was commendable, Ren-sama. Shall I disable the unnecessary theatrical effects next time? Traveler_R, no. Let them have their show. We've been ghosts for too long. Later, back at the sanctum, the guild was still laughing about it. Kurosaki, so that's your big secret, huh? You're a shapeshifting monster masquerading as a chill human blogger. Pix. I feel betrayed, but in a fashionable way. Echo links. Yeah, I'm just relieved you're not secretly an AI. That would have been weirder. Trave. Oh, please. If I were an AI, I'd have better social skills. That earned another round of laughter. For the first time in a long time, I felt light. No illusions, no secrets, just me, Ren, the doppelganger who'd built a world of shadows and truth alike. And as the next tournament round approached, I smiled to myself. Because deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. The world had finally seen my face. Now, it was time to show them what a ghost could really do. End of chapter 15. The veil lifts.